he appeared in the headlights, like a man caught between steps, standing all alone on a cold, empty stretch of Route 44. The driver slowed down, his heart jumping into his throat, thinking he'd hit someone. But when he got out of the car to look, the road was completely empty. And then, from somewhere right behind him, a voice whispered, "Can you give me a ride?" The long ribbon of Route 44 runs quietly across parts of Rhode Island and Massachusetts. It cuts through patches of deep forest, sleepy small towns, and long stretches of land where fog settles low against the dark pavement. It's a place where the silence can feel heavier and more unsettling than any noise. And for decades, one story has surfaced again and again among those who travel this road after sunset: the tale of the vanishing hitchhiker. Now, it's important to say right at the start that this story is pure folklore. There is no verified police report confirming a ghostly figure that keeps disappearing from the roadside. And yet, the consistency of the accounts, passed down through generations, makes this one of New England's most recognizable and chilling highway legends. Variations of this story exist all over the world, but the one told along this particular stretch of asphalt has its own unmistakable and deeply unsettling shape. Most versions describe the hitchhiker as a man in his mid-30s, wearing an old coat that looks slightly out of style. This detail is important. Those who claim to have seen him rarely describe feeling fear in that moment. Instead, they talk about a profound sense of confusion, feeling that something is just slightly, fundamentally off. One of the earliest widely repeated versions of the story involves a driver heading east late one winter night. Completely, not stepped aside, not turned away, just gone. The driver pulled over immediately, his hands shaking as he grabbed a flashlight and started calling out, worried he might have accidentally struck someone. He checked the roadside, the ditch, and even walked a short distance into the dark woods. But there was no one there, not a single footprint. He later told his friends that he regretted not taking a photograph, not because he wanted proof, but because he just wanted some reassurance that what he had seen was something real, something explainable. Another account from the 1980s, which was shared in local newspapers at the time more as a piece of folklore than as fact, describes a woman who actually picked up a hitchhiker near that same stretch of road. She said he got in the car without a word and noticed he was strangely quiet, just staring down at his own hands as if he wasn't sure they belonged to him. She asked where he was heading, and he replied softly that he just needed to get home. When she glanced over at him again, only seconds later, the passenger seat was empty. The door was still closed and locked. The air inside the car had grown so cold it was fogging up the windshield. When she slammed on the brakes in shock, she said she heard a faint voice from right behind her, as if someone were sitting in the back seat. She drove away as fast as she could, and for years afterward, absolutely refused to use that road at night. These stories, though unverified, all share common themes. The figure is described as appearing suddenly, disappearing just as suddenly, and never behaving in a directly threatening way. It's the sheer impossibility of the moment, the quiet, complete disruption of reality that unsettles the witnesses more than anything else. Folklorists who study stories like this one note that the vanishing hitchhiker archetype appears in many cultures around the world. It's often tied to unresolved loss, sudden accidents, or transitional places like roads and bridges. And Route 44 fits this pattern perfectly. It's long, quiet, and bordered by dense forest that seems to absorb both light and sound. People traveling these lonely stretches late at night are already in a heightened state of awareness, and the mind can create shapes out of shadows more easily than we like to admit. But locals insist there's something more to this particular legend. Many say the ghostly hitchhiker is connected to an accident that may have occurred decades ago. I searched through all the available public records, but could find any documentation that directly ties a specific individual to this story. Still, some residents will tell you that an unidentified man died near that road a long, long time back. Whether this is true or just a story shaped and reshaped through repetition is almost impossible to determine. A more modern version of the tale comes from a truck driver who was heading through Massachusetts after a late delivery run. He described the night as unusually silent, with thick fog moving across the highway like slow, heavy breaths. Around a bend, he saw the figure standing perfectly still, hands in pockets, gaze directed downward. The driver honked his horn, not wanting to startle him, but the man didn't react at all. The trucker slowed his rig, leaning forward to get a better view. As his powerful headlights washed over the figure, it just dissolved, like smoke being pulled apart by a gentle wind. And he felt a sudden, oppressive weight in the air, like someone had just stepped into the room right behind him. For the rest of that drive, he kept catching flickers of movement in his side mirror. Just little shifts in the dark nothing concrete. But every time the fog swirled, it looked like a man leaning toward the glass. Psychologists might argue that long hours on the road, sleep deprivation, and low visibility can easily cause these kinds of hallucinations. People who encounter the hitchhiker often report hearing a whisper, sometimes from inside the car, sometimes seemingly coming from the road itself. It's usually a single sentence, always vague, and always described in the same way, as if it's being spoken from a deep, tired distance. Help me get home. Don't leave me here. None of these phrases can be verified, of course, but they appear in stories told independently by different people over many years. Some will laugh at the idea. Others say the details just line up too neatly to be ignored. A Rhode Island resident once said that he heard the whisper, not after seeing the hitchhiker, but long before. Driving alone one foggy evening, he claimed he heard a quiet voice right next to him in the passenger seat, speaking as if through a long exhale. He whipped his head around in shock, but no one was there. There is no proven link between the whisper and the figure. People who talk about Route 44 often emphasize how completely normal the road feels during the day. But when night falls and the fog drifts low across the asphalt, the world seems to compress. The trees stand closer. Sound carries in odd, distorted ways. And your headlights carve the dark into narrow tunnels that can make even the calmest driver feel profoundly uneasy. The legend thrives in these conditions, not because people want it to be real, but because the mind instinctively recognizes how thin the line between certainty and confusion can become on a long, empty road. There is no proof that a spirit walks Route 44, no hard evidence that a man appears and then vanishes in the headlights. Yet the stories have survived for decades, changing in small ways, but always keeping the same chilling core: a lone figure in the fog, standing on the edge of the road, asking for help in a voice that barely exists. And if someone appears in your headlights only to disappear in the next blink, do what most locals quietly advise. Don't stop, don't look back. And if you hear a voice whisper your name through the fog, just pretend you didn't. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more tales from the shadows.